Water has become one of the most critical resources shaping international relations in the 21st century. As populations grow, climate change intensifies, and freshwater resources become increasingly scarce, conflicts over water access and control have evolved from localized disputes to potential triggers for major international confrontations. The phrase water wars no longer represents merely an academic concept, but a pressing reality that governments, policymakers, and communities worldwide must address urgently. Throughout history, water disputes have been both sources of conflict and catalysts for cooperation. Ancient civilizations fought over irrigation rights, medieval kingdoms battled for river control, and modern nations continue to grapple with transboundary water management. The earliest known water war occurred around 2400 BCE between the ancient Sumerian states of Umma and Lagash over irrigation water, demonstrating that competition for water resources has been a constant feature of human civilization. The contemporary landscape of water conflicts encompasses multiple regions and takes various forms, from diplomatic tensions to armed confrontations. These disputes typically arise when multiple countries share river systems, lakes, or aquifers, creating complex interdependencies that can either foster cooperation or generate friction. The intensity of these conflicts has increased significantly as water scarcity has become more pronounced due to climate change, population growth, and unsustainable consumption patterns. One of the most prominent and potentially volatile water conflicts currently unfolding involves the historic tensions between India and Pakistan over the Indus River system. The Indus Waters Treaty, signed in 1960 and mediated by the World Bank, had successfully managed water distribution between these nuclear-armed neighbors for over 6 decades. However, recent events have dramatically escalated the situation to dangerous new levels. In April 2025, following a terrorist attack in Kashmir that killed 26 people, India suspended its participation in the Indus Waters Treaty, threatening to cut off water supplies to Pakistan. This unprecedented move marked the first time the treaty has been suspended since its inception. Pakistan has declared India's suspension an act of war and warned it would respond with full force to any attempts to divert water flows. The implications of this escalation extend far beyond bilateral relations. Pakistan's agriculture-dependent economy, with farming contributing 24% to GDP and employing 37.4% of the workforce, faces catastrophic consequences if water supplies are reduced. Pakistani farmers have expressed existential fears, with one stating that if India stops water flow, all of this will turn into the Thar Desert, the whole country will die of hunger. The technical aspects of the water dispute reveal the complexity of transboundary river management. The treaty originally allocated control of 3 eastern rivers to India and 3 western rivers to Pakistan. While India cannot immediately stop all water flows due to treaty constraints, it can halt information sharing, including crucial flood warnings and hydrological data, potentially imperiling Pakistani lives and livelihoods. The Pakistan-India water conflict exemplifies how water disputes intertwine with broader geopolitical tensions. The Kashmir conflict, which has sparked multiple wars between the countries, adds another layer of complexity to water management, as the 3 western rivers allocated to Pakistan flow through the contested Jammu and Kashmir region. Beyond South Asia, the Nile River Basin represents another critical flashpoint for water conflicts. The Nile, flowing through 11 countries, has been the subject of numerous disputes, particularly between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan. Egyptian leaders have repeatedly emphasized water's importance to national security, with former President Anwar Sadat stating in 1979 that the only matter that could take Egypt to war again is water, and former Foreign Minister Boutros Boutros-Ghali predicting in 1988 that the next Middle East war would be fought over Nile waters. The construction of Ethiopia's Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam has intensified these tensions significantly. Set to become Africa's largest hydroelectric dam, the project has set Ethiopia on a collision course with Egypt. Egypt fears that the dam could reduce downstream water flows, threatening its agriculture and economy. Egypt, which depends on the Nile to irrigate its arid land, sees the upstream dam as potentially disastrous. Ethiopia, meanwhile, views the dam as essential for its development. The project will provide electricity to 75 million Ethiopians who currently lack power and could export cheaper electricity to neighboring countries. The country's rapidly growing population from 18.1 million in 1950 to 126.5 million in 2023 requires significant infrastructure development to meet basic needs. The dispute reflects broader challenges in managing international river systems. Historic agreements such as the 1959 Nile Waters Agreement between Egypt and Sudan allocated nearly 90% of the estimated average annual Nile River flow to these two countries, effectively excluding upstream nations from decision-making processes. This colonial-era framework has become increasingly untenable as upstream countries assert their rights to utilize water resources for development. Water conflicts extend beyond these high-profile cases to encompass numerous other regions. Recent interstate conflicts have occurred mainly in the Middle East, Africa, and Central Asia. Each conflict involves unique geographical, political, and economic factors that complicate resolution efforts. The Middle East, already the world's most water-scarce region, faces particular challenges. The region has only 1% of the world's fresh water, shared among 5% of the world's population. Water scarcity exacerbates existing political tensions and contributes to regional instability. The Tigris-Euphrates River system, shared by Turkey, Syria, and Iraq, exemplifies these challenges as upstream development projects affect downstream water availability. Climate change adds another dimension to water conflicts by altering precipitation patterns, increasing evaporation rates, and affecting river flows. Climate modelers cannot agree on future Nile flows, with projections ranging from 30% more water to 78% less by the end of the century. Such uncertainty makes long-term planning extremely difficult and may render existing agreements obsolete. The economic implications of water conflicts are substantial. Agriculture, which consumes approximately 70% of global freshwater, becomes increasingly vulnerable as water resources diminish. Industrial development, hydroelectric power generation, and basic human needs all compete for limited water supplies. Studies suggest that rapid dam filling could almost double water deficits downstream, with significant implications for food security and economic stability. Despite these challenges, there are numerous examples of successful water cooperation that demonstrate alternative pathways. The Indus River Commission and the original Indus Water Treaty survived two wars between India and Pakistan, proving a successful mechanism for conflict resolution until its recent suspension. Similarly, the Mekong Committee has functioned since 1957 and outlived the Vietnam War, showing that water cooperation can persist even during broader conflicts. International organizations play crucial roles in mediating water disputes and promoting cooperation. The World Bank's involvement in negotiating the original Indus Waters Treaty exemplifies how third-party mediation can create lasting frameworks for water sharing. The World Bank should urgently assume the role of neutral mediator to salvage the suspended Indus Waters Treaty, according to recent expert recommendations. The United Nations has also established frameworks for transboundary water cooperation. The 1997 UN Convention on the Law of the Non-Navigational Uses of International Watercourses provides an international treaty framework for the use and conservation of water systems that cross international borders. However, enforcement mechanisms remain limited, and political will often determine compliance. Regional initiatives demonstrate promising approaches to water cooperation. The Senegal River Basin, shared by Guinea, Mali, Mauritania, and Senegal, has a long history of water cooperation dating back to colonial times, with the creation of the Organisation pour la Mise en Valeur du Fleuve Senegal in 1972. This organization has successfully managed shared water resources for over 5 decades. The European experience offers valuable lessons for other regions. More than 6 decades of collaboration between Rhine River countries has shown how cooperation can evolve from addressing single objectives, such as reducing water pollution, to holistic water management encompassing entire basins. Such evolution requires sustained political commitment and institutional development. Water conservation and fair sharing mechanisms are essential components of any comprehensive approach to preventing water conflicts. Conservation technologies can significantly reduce water demand across all sectors. Smart irrigation systems using sensors to monitor soil moisture levels and adjust water usage accordingly represent one example of how technology can improve efficiency. Traditional water management practices also offer valuable insights. The Tribunal de las Aguas in Valencia, Spain, has operated for centuries as a traditional institution settling water distribution disputes among irrigation channels, demonstrating how local governance structures can effectively manage shared resources. Fair sharing principles require careful consideration of multiple factors, including historical usage patterns, economic needs, environmental requirements, and population dynamics. River sharing mechanisms must account for both water quantity and quality, as pollution creates external costs for downstream users. Successful agreements often include provisions for benefit sharing rather than simply dividing water quantities. International cooperation frameworks emphasize the importance of data sharing and joint monitoring systems. Evidence shows that cooperation in water issues between communities, sectors, and countries can provide economic, social, and environmental benefits while strengthening peace and regional integration. Such cooperation requires robust institutional mechanisms and sustained financial support. The private sector increasingly plays important roles in addressing water scarcity through technological innovation and investment. Private companies develop desalination technology, implement water reuse initiatives, and create conservation systems that contribute to overall water security. However, ensuring equitable access remains challenging when water services are privatized. Public awareness campaigns are crucial for building support for water conservation and cooperation initiatives. Successful campaigns such as Australia's Don't Be a Drip initiative and South Africa's Water for Life campaign have increased public engagement in sustainable water management practices. Education and community involvement are essential for long-term success. Looking toward the future, preventing water wars requires proactive approaches that address root causes rather than merely managing symptoms. This includes investing in water-efficient technologies, developing alternative water sources, improving governance structures, and creating robust international frameworks for cooperation. Nature-based solutions that provide ecosystem services while meeting water needs offer promising approaches that can benefit multiple stakeholders simultaneously. The urgency of addressing water conflicts cannot be overstated. Current trends suggest that water scarcity will intensify in the coming decades, potentially affecting billions of people and threatening global stability. The suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty illustrates how once resilient conflict prevention mechanisms are faltering under the weight of geopolitical tension. Without decisive action, the world faces the prospect of increasingly frequent and severe water conflicts. Successful water cooperation requires political will, technical expertise, financial resources, and sustained commitment from all stakeholders. The alternative, a future marked by water wars, would have catastrophic consequences for human security, economic development, and international stability. The choice between cooperation and conflict over water resources will significantly shape the 21st century's trajectory, making water diplomacy one of the most critical challenges facing the international community today.